Well, hello and welcome to the Make More Placements podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the number one cause of inconsistency in your recruitment and search business and how to beat it. And I'm, of course, joined by Terry. Terry, you okay?
I'm great, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to this podcast. So, yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So, the number one cause of inconsistency in your recruitment and search business and how to beat it. So, between me and Terry, and as a business as a whole, we speak to, recruitment and search managers from all over the world every day of the week. So Monday to Friday, every day of the week, right? And one of the big complaints, one of the big challenges that they have is that, they're saying that they're getting inconsistent results. So what will happen is, the revenue will be sort of really good one month, then will drop off in the following month, or it might not be the revenue, it might be the performance of a particular consultant, it might be the owner of the business, but whatever way you look at it, there's lots of inconsistencies in their performance, which obviously, have an inconsistent, mean that they get inconsistent results. It's one of the big complaints we get. And, so basically in this podcast, in this Facebook Live, I want to talk about why that is, why that happens, and also how to beat it as well. So anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, every recruitment and search business owner on this call will relate to that. It's often called famine and feast. There's a number of reasons which we're going to, but every recruitment business owner knows this, the famine and feast in terms of sales, income coming in and whatever. And one moment, 1 month or 1 quarter, as you said, they're rolling in it and they're smoking cigars and drinking the champagne. And the next quarter or the next month, they're thinking, how the hell are we going to make the wage bill? How am I going to pay my bills? Sadly, all too sadly, it's common. I think even sadder, we're going to touch on some of this, it's almost accepted by the majority of recruitment and search business owners that we speak to, that that's just the way it is. And that's what we're going to look at.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the consequence is that, you never really break through a certain level. You always stay at, almost like a glass ceiling that you can't break through, because you're getting these inconsistent results. And, you have one really good month and then it's followed by a bad month. And, the opportunity is that, when you sort of get over this, or when you, I guess, become more aware of what the cause of the inconsistency is, and, do some of the things we're going to be talking about today, you can, again, you get that consistent growth and you'll always be leveling up in your business. But I think, if you don't fix it, then you'll always be where you are now. You always have that, it's not that you'll be unsuccessful per se, but you'll never quite hit the heights that you should be.
Yeah.
Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, and I think just for a moment, I want you to imagine how would it be for your business if you knew month in, month out exactly what it is you were going to generate. If you had a handle on exactly the sort of income that were coming up. I know for many recruitment and search firm owners, what it means is they would sleep better at night. And I know as a former search firm owner myself, that was certainly the case, where you just don't know what's coming in the next quarter. Because what tends to happen is you get busy, you work on those assignments, you fill those assignments, and so you then fill those assignments, and you literally start from ground zero. But if you've had a really good run, and let's say you're a contingent recruiter, and on average you fill 30% of the roles that you work on, but you get lucky one month, and often that's the sad thing about it as well. There's no process; it's an element of luck. They get lucky one month, they might fill 50, 80% of the roles that they're working on as a contingent recruiter. So their income goes, wow, it goes up there. But why doesn't it stay there? Why doesn't it stay at that kind of income on a regular and consistent basis? And that's what we're going to be looking at. I can give a couple of examples away from recruitment that's kind of illustrate it. I'll come to that in due course. Actually, Joe, I'll let you take over.
That's okay. You do them now.
Oh, okay. So I have a younger son who's a very good footballer, and he plays for. Last season, he got into the local. He got into an academy. So previous to that, he just played local football. Has always done very well, scored lots of goals, and always been sort of the local hero. He's now joined an academy. It kind of goes without saying the standard of football is a lot higher. But what's interesting in his behaviour, certainly at the beginning of this season, he's kind of got the attitude as I've now made it. He doesn't train as often as he used to. Because he's a member of the academy, he walks around with the tracksuit from this particular well-known professional club on. So his mates know he's a member of the academy, and part of his thinking now is that he's actually made it, and his ambition is to become a professional footballer. Quite frankly, that will never happen with his attitude right now, because he actually thinks that he's made it. As Drew would tell you, that he would be out training, out practicing with the ball 7 days a week. Often he would be out there in the dark, in the garden, practicing with the football. Interesting attitude now since he's joined the academy. Once he's had trials and everything, and he's been taken into the academy, that's all stopped. Got nothing to do with nothing else but his attitude, because he thinks he's actually made it. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense.
And again, Drew will verify this. When previously in joining the academy, all he ever talked about was football and different aspects of football to Drew. None of that now. It's very interesting. And I want to be clear about this. I kind of understand at that level, because if I'm honest, it's something that I went through many years ago at a schoolboy level. I was very keen on boxing, became a very good schoolboy boxer. And again, very similar. I became county champion in boxing, Warwickshire County champion, boxing champion. And again, there was this element of, I was 14 at the time. I'd made it, and my ambitions then was I want to become a professional boxer, and the world's right with me. Again, I had this. I'd made it. I really thought I'd made it. In my local club, I was the best for my age group by a long way. I'd go on training camps with the county and could hold my own there quite easily. Actually, I was probably one. Yeah, undoubtedly, I was one of the best in the county. But that's just the beginning of the journey. And because I felt I'd made it, again, at a level, unconsciously, I'd taken my foot off the accelerator. What happened was I had 3 fights later, I remember his name as well, actually, a chap called James Cook. And to say he gave me a hiding is an understatement. But not only did he give me a hiding, he also taught me a lesson, because I was a long way off actually making it as I thought in my mind. This chap, James Cook, was a lot better than me, a lot quicker than me by a long way. And they're just a couple of examples, but we all do it at certain levels where we get to a level and we think this is the norm. So in recruitment terms, let's say whatever your billings are. I was talking to a recruitment business owner the other day, and I said, out of 10, how would you rate the performance of your business? He said 8 out of 10. I said, what are your average monthly billings? He said, we average about 20,000 sterling a month. And he's given his business 8 out of 10. I work with solo recruiters who are billing 40,000 a month, UK, so it's about 500,000 as solo recruiters. And if you mark there, and when you ask them how they're doing out of 10, they will say 7. And it's all about standards. But the first recruiter who's given 8 out of 10 and is billing 20,000 a month, at some level, he feels he's made it, and this is as good as it gets. Let me check with you. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense, and I think most people could resonate with both the stories you told. Because I think like when you have a goal that you want to hit, whatever it is, whether it's in sport or whether it's in business, and it could be a revenue number, whatever. You work really hard to hit that goal, and then when you hit that goal, an element of complacency sets in, whether whether it's consciously or not. And I think for the most part, speak to most business owners, they'd always want to grow and they'd always want to kick on. And same with most people in sport, they'd always want to grow and kick on. But there's a level of complacency when you've hit your original goal, where you just sort of think, well, I've done it now, and again, it's not necessarily something that you will notice yourself doing. And I know with sort of Miles, my brother, just recently speaking to him, he didn't even realize that he stopped pushing himself as hard. It sort of happened. Yeah, it just happened. It just, one day he didn't go out training, and then next day he did the same thing, and then all of a sudden he's picked up this habit. And I think you can see the exact same thing happening with business owners, where you know, we all know that, you know, so a business owner, if they have a really bad month, or revenue is really low, or cash is really low, you know, they snap into action, right? They work their ass off, they work really hard, they're making more calls, staying up later, you know, working longer and harder hours just to get back to sort of, you know, an area or a level where they're comfortable. And again, it's almost like a thermostat. They hit that level. You know, the really successful ones hit that level, and they, you know, they raise their standards and say, you know, I'm at this revenue number. You know, now I want to go for this revenue number, and they, you know, they constantly push themselves. But I think for most people, unless they consciously think about it, they hit a certain number, and suddenly it's like, and they, you know, they take their foot off the pedal. It's almost like a sigh of relief, and suddenly the activity slows. The desire isn't as strong. You know, the intent behind the actions they do isn't as powerful. Everything drops off slightly, and they're just, you know, they might even be doing the exact same actions, but they're just going through the motions. You know, the intent isn't quite there. And same for, you know, business, sport, whatever. You know, and I think if you look closely enough, everyone can probably pull examples from their own life where, you know, they've got to a certain point, and then an element of complacency kicks in. I think, you know, just coming to my head right now, one of the most common areas or times this happens is in relationships. You know, you know, people use the phrase honeymoon period, like where, you know, you maybe making more effort with your partner, maybe, you know, just you put in the work in, and then you get to a level where you're comfortable, and then you might get complacent. Again, it happens in business, happens in, you know, all areas of your life.
Yeah, I think that example of relationships is a great example that most people can relate to, and they think, wow, when I first met my partner, they were so lovely and they're so charming, and, you know, they would offer to take the rubbish out and that kind of thing, and that's all gone. That's all gone. Yeah, and I think going back to business owners, I think I know part of it is they have their fixed costs, and let's say the fixed cost with salary, rent, and is I don't know, let's call it 20,000, and in their mind is, I've got to get to 20,000. I've got to get to 20,000 to cover my cost, and, you know, there's a little bit left over, and they get there, and it's like, as you said, Drew, it's like that's it, done it. And what we know with the real high achievers, they get to that number, and then they're looking back saying, what do we need to do? What are the 3 things that we could do that if we did it, we would double our income over the next quarter? But it's just completely different thinking. And going back to my son, you know, if he was to have the conversation that I'm encouraging him to think about is, I've gone into the academy. What is it I need to do to get to the next level? You know, so they keep me on in the academy. And, you know, here's one of the sad facts about football academies. I think it's 1% of academy members actually make it as professional footballers. 1%. So it's worth considering that most of them won't even make it. But what if they thought differently about it? Thought, what do I need to do to be that 1%? And it's just different thinking. What is it that you need to do that if you had a great month or great quarter or great year, you want to, you'll improve on that in the previous year? What do you need to do in your relationship that you know, when you first met your partner, they thought you were great, and now they're going to think you're even greater, for want of a better word. And it's just that different thinking. And the lesson about all this is, just because you got there, don't think that you've made it. That's just the start of the journey.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, again, just to reiterate, complacency is the number 1 cause of inconsistency, and to beat it, you know, it's all about raising your standards. You hit that goal, whatever it may be, you know, you need to be looking at, okay, what can my new goal be? What can I do to build on this, to improve? And I think, you know, there needs to be an element of intent behind it. Like, I think people set goals all the time, but there's, you know, again, we've said before, it's not really about the goals you set, it's about the minimum standards that you accept. What are your minimum standards? What's going to be the new normal for you? Right, you know, recording this sort of in the middle of the pandemic, you know, people are throwing out the phrase new normal all the time, but, you know, forget the pandemic. In terms of your business, you know, when you hit a certain level that's, you know, to you at the time might be an exceptional month, that needs to be your baseline. That needs to be, you know, that's just a normal month for me now. That's just, you know, that's nothing. And it's about normalizing the growth. So, you know, when you hit, you know, a certain number, you know, that's the lowest you'll do now, because that's the minimum standard you'll accept.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, if you want some help in this and increasing your and coming out of increasing your revenue month after month after month, if you just go to makemoreplacements.com/apply and just a letter there, have a read letter and see if you qualify. So that's makemoreplacements.com/apply. If you're sick and tired of the famine and feast and yourselves going up and down, one quarter or 1 month you're smashed it, and next month tumbleweed, quite frankly, go to makemoreplacements.com/apply. Have a quick read of the letter and see if this is for you. The challenges you're facing with this up and down, this famine and feast, is not uncommon. In fact, it's the norm for many recruitment and search business owners. The good news is you can do something about it. And you might want to consider what happens when you imagine yourself already transformed and you're achieving that regular and consistent income. So go to makemoreplacements.com/apply. Cheers, Drew.
Awesome. Take care.
Until next time, folks, take care, take action, and be relentless.